Hey everyone, and welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Today we're going deep on something pretty electrifying.
Literally electrifying.
It's India's nuclear energy sector.
And you know what's really fascinating about this is
Yeah.
it's really multidimensional.
Yeah.
You know, it touches on climate change,
Uh-huh.
economic development,
Yeah.
geopolitics.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, this is
Big stuff.
prime stuff for those UPSC mains questions.
Oh,
that,
absolutely.
You know, the kind of thing that we know
Yeah.
UPSC loves.
We're going to break it all down for you today.
Yeah.
We've got some great recent reports and articles to pull from, including a really interesting one from The Hindu,
Oh, yeah.
which we'll link in the show notes.
Of course.
But, okay, so, you know,
yeah.
nuclear energy.
Right?
Some people might think, like, oh, this is...
Old news.
Yeah, it's old news.
Right.
But
here's the thing.
yeah.
Decades of investment in this tech.
Right.
And it's still just a tiny fraction of the energy mix.
What is it like?
It's just 1.6%.
1.6%.
Yeah.
That's so low.
It's really low.
Surprising, right?
Yeah.
So why is this suddenly,
Right.
all the rage?
Why is everyone talking about it now?
Yeah.
What is going on?
It seems kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Especially when you think about
Yeah.
how much India has,
Historically. Yeah.
focused on other sources,
Yeah.
like hydropower and things like that.
Totally.
So what is driving this renewed interest?
Yeah. What is it?
Well, one of the key factors is India's goal of hitting net zero emissions by 2070.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a big one.
Big goal.
Big goal.
Yeah.
And to get there, they're aiming for a massive jump
Okay.
to 22.48 gigawatts of nuclear power
Okay.
by 2031-32,
Wow.
which is, not that far away.
That's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up quick.
Yeah.
And then even more.
They're aiming for a full 25% of electricity from nuclear by 2050.
25%
Yeah.
by 2050.
That's huge.
So those are some seriously ambitious targets.
Oh, they are.
I mean,
yeah.
that would just
Totally change the
Yeah.
energy landscape.
what are
Yeah,
what are the driving forces here
Yeah.
beyond just,
Right.
clean energy?
So beyond just going green,
Yeah.
what's going on?
One of the things
Yeah.
is energy security.
Okay.
So by, reducing their reliance on these
that's-
kind of
Yeah.
volatile
Yeah.
fossil fuel markets,
Right.
it allows India to have a much more
Yeah.
stable,
Yeah.
predictable
Makes sense.
energy supply.
Yeah. That's especially important these days.
Oh, absolutely.
Given all the conflict and everything.
When you think about the fact that energy demands are predicted to double
Double.
by 2070,
Wow.
that's a huge increase. We need to find
Yeah.
sources.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially given the whole, geopolitical climate these days.
Right.
So it's not just about
Exactly.
it's about securing the energy future
Exactly.
of India.
It's about having control over your own destiny
Right, exactly.
when it comes to energy.
Okay.
And then let's not forget about the economic benefits.
The economic benefits?
Yeah.
What are those?
So building these nuclear power plants creates jobs.
Uh-huh.
It stimulates those local economies,
Oh, yeah.
contributes to that overall economic growth.
It's like a stimulus package.
It is. It's a
Yeah.
long-term stimulus
Mhm.
package.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about the Kudankulam nuclear power plant expansion
Yeah.
in Tamil Nadu.
Right.
That's expected to add 2,000 megawatts of power by 2026,
Okay.
which is a big deal.
Yeah, that is a lot.
That's boosting that energy capacity and boosting the economic activity in that area.
It sounds like a total win-win.
It does sound like a win-win.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got clean energy.
Right.
You've got economic growth.
Yeah.
We've got more energy independence.
Uh-huh.
So,
Who are the key players driving all this?
yeah, who are the big players here?
Well,
Say
you've got the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, or NPCIL.
Okay, MPTIL.
Right, they're the main ones
Okay.
for designing,
Yes,
constructing,
yeah.
operating these plants.
Okay, got it.
Then you've got the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board,
Okay.
or the AERB.
The AERB got it.
They make sure everything's safe.
So making sure everything's,
Safe, compliant.
by the books,
Exactly.
compliant with the regulations.
Yep.
So it's a tightly regulated sector
Oh, it is.
with clear responsibilities
Yeah,
for each player.
it is.
And
That's something that's really important to remember.
so for the exam, right?
Absolutely. Knowing who does what.
Yeah, exactly. Who does what?
Can definitely show up in the prelims.
Okay, so...
Yeah. And while we're talking about regulations,
Yeah.
we can't forget about the elephant in the room.
Oh, the elephant in the room.
You know?
Which is...
India's decision to stay out of the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Ah, yes. The NPT.
The NPT.
That always comes up.
It always comes up.
Right. When we talk about India's nuclear program, it's a bold stance.
It is.
For sure.
It really shows, their commitment to that strategic autonomy.
To being independent.
Doing their own thing. Exactly.
Then what does it actually mean for, their ambitions?
Well, it means that India can really chart its own course.
Okay.
It can focus on developing these indigenous technologies.
Okay.
Like the prototype fast breeder reactor.
Okay.
Which is a perfect example of their independent approach and their commitment to that technological self-reliance.
So it's not just about...
It's not just about
building the plants.
The plants, it's about
building that whole ecosystem.
That whole ecosystem.
That whole nuclear ecosystem.
Yeah, that's really fascinating.
That's a great insight.
Yeah.
And something I think
it is.
Our listeners will find valuable.
For sure.
Especially those UPSC aspirants.
Those UPSC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the upsides.
Let's talk about the upside.
Of going nuclear.
Yeah, let's dive into those.
Okay, so...
Starting with climate change mitigation.
Okay, climate change mitigation.
When we talk about climate change mitigation, nuclear energy is a real game changer.
It is.
Unlike those fossil fuels, nuclear power plants, they don't really produce any greenhouse gas emissions.
Right, like when they're actually working.
When they're operating.
Yeah.
They're clean.
Yeah. It's a pretty stark contrast
when
you compare it to something like coal.
I mean, it's night and day.
Yeah.
It really is. And this is where it gets really interesting
Yeah.
for our UPSC aspirants
Yeah.
because you've got these international agreements, like the Paris Climate Agreement, which are pushing countries to decarbonize their energy sectors.
Right.
And so India's commitment to those agreements, along with their own domestic targets, make nuclear energy super important.
Makes sense.
For them to meet their goals.
So it's not just about clean energy then.
Right.
It's about being,
It's about being a responsible global citizen.
Yeah, a good global citizen.
That.
And like fulfilling these international commitments.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
It is.
To keep in mind. Like for those essay questions on the mains.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those mains questions,
you
gotta know this stuff.
For sure.
And, understanding India's energy policy in that global context is going to be super helpful for that interview stage, too.
Yeah. Okay, so beyond the environmental stuff, let's talk about economics.
Okay, economics.
Okay, so we've got... the clean energy, we've got energy security, we've got the global commitments.
Right.
But what about the cost of all this?
The economic implications?
I mean, how much does it actually cost to build these things?
Right.
And to maintain them?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The initial costs are big.
Yeah, I imagine.
They're substantial.
Yeah.
But you got to think long term.
Okay, long term.
Yeah, what are the long-term economic benefits?
Okay.
Well, these power plants, they're going to last for decades.
Okay.
So you've got a consistent source of electricity, and you have stable energy prices.
Over a long period of time.
Exactly.
So it's about thinking about those long-term returns.
Exactly.
Not just that upfront cost.
Right. You got to see the big picture.
Okay.
And don't forget about all the jobs.
The jobs, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, building and operating these power plants, that takes a highly skilled workforce.
Yeah, for sure.
So that means jobs across all sorts of sectors.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got engineering and construction, research and development.
It's a whole ripple effect.
It's a huge ripple effect.
Through the economy.
Exactly. And that Kudankulam expansion that we were talking about earlier, that's going to create thousands of jobs.
Right, during the construction and operation.
Exactly. Huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And there's another advantage
that
we should talk about.
What's that?
It's called baseload power.
Baseload power, what is that?
So, unlike renewables, like solar and wind, which are intermittent, meaning they're not always on, nuclear power plants provide a constant, reliable supply of electricity.
It's like they're always there.
They're always on.
Yeah, like the bedrock of the energy grid.
Yeah, they're the foundation.
Keeping everything going.
Exactly.
Even when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And as India's economy continues to grow, they're going to need that baseload power.
They need that reliability.
They need it to support those industries, businesses, and homes.
Across the whole country.
Across the whole country.
Okay.
And finally, let's talk about the geopolitical implications.
Okay. Geopolitics.
Yeah. How does nuclear energy factor into India's standing on the world stage?
Okay, so we've talked about the environment. We've talked about the economics. We've talked about energy security. What about geopolitics?
Well, having a strong, independent nuclear program, that really enhances India's global influence and their bargaining power.
Okay.
You know, it gives them a seat at the table in all those international energy negotiations.
Makes them a player
exactly
on the world stage. It strengthens their position as a key player in the global energy landscape.
So it's about more than just energy.
Right.
It's about projecting.
It's about power.
Strength.
Yeah.
That autonomy.
Exactly. It's about taking their rightful place as a global power.
On the world stage.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting point.
It is.
And it brings up another thing, which is the whole debate. About India's nuclear doctrine and its no first use policy.
Right.
I mean,
this is a big one.
This is a big one.
That's something you can really show off your analytical skills on.
Oh, for sure.
In the mains exam.
Yeah, those mains essays.
Yeah.
This is perfect for that.
Okay.
But we've talked a lot about the upsides.
Yeah, the upsides.
And there are many.
Yeah, there are.
We can't forget about the challenges.
Right. There are always challenges.
Yeah, there were some serious roadblocks on this path.
Yeah, what are some of those roadblocks? Let's talk about those.
All right, so we've gone over all the potential benefits of nuclear energy for India. But we got to talk about
We've got to be realistic.
Yeah, the reality.
Yeah.
There are some roadblocks on this path.
There are some serious hurdles to overcome.
Okay,
well, for starters, the financial hurdles.
Okay, the financial hurdles.
Yeah.
Muddy.
Yeah, exactly. These plants are expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To build.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to build them.
Yeah.
You know, those long gestation periods.
Right.
That adds to the complexity.
Yeah, especially for a developing country like India.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Allocating those kinds of resources is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
You have to think about all the other priorities.
Right.
Healthcare, education, infrastructure.
Basic infrastructure.
Yeah, all these things need funding, too.
It's like a balancing act, right?
It's a constant balancing act.
With all these different competing priorities.
Exactly. Yeah. And to make things even more complicated, the Atomic Energy Act of 1962, that restricts private sector involvement.
Okay, so the private sector can't just jump in?
They can't just jump in.
And start building reactors?
No, they can't operate reactors.
Okay.
So that limits the investment.
Right, so it's kind of like a catch-22, right?
It is a catch-22.
You need those big investments to scale up nuclear capacity.
But
the regulations are holding back the private players who could actually bring in those funds.
Exactly.
So it's tricky.
It's a tricky situation. And this is where, you know, for our UPSC aspirants, understanding these policies and their implications is so important.
Okay.
You know, there's this big debate about amending the Atomic Energy Act to open it up to more private investment.
Right, so that the private companies can get involved.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, you should definitely.
That's going on the list.
Yeah, add that to your list.
Of things to study.
Of topics to revise.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, now another big roadblock, I think, is safety concerns.
Safety is a huge concern.
Yeah, after things like Fukushima.
Fukushima, that really cast a long shadow over the nuclear industry.
I can imagine.
You know, it fueled all this public anxiety.
Yeah, people are scared.
People are scared.
Of these plants.
They're worried about accidents.
Yeah.
Radioactive waste.
It's scary stuff.
It is scary stuff.
Yeah.
And we've seen protests, you know, near proposed nuclear plant sites, like in Kurdunkulum.
Right.
So this highlights how important it is to be transparent.
Transparency is key.
And to build public trust.
Yeah, so it's not just about building the reactor. It's about, you know...
It's about engaging.
Yeah, engaging with the people.
With those local communities.
Right.
Addressing their concerns.
Showing them that, you know...
Exactly.
You're committed to safety.
To safety and to responsible operation.
Right, and that you're listening to them.
You have to listen to those concerns.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's essential for the long-term success of the program.
Okay, and let's not forget.
Right.
The logistical challenges.
Oh, the logistics.
Of these big infrastructure projects.
Infrastructure is huge.
Land acquisition, for instance.
Land acquisition.
can be a huge hurdle.
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one.
You know?
Like the Jaipur project in Maharashtra.
Right.
That's been stalled for over a decade?
Over a decade.
Just because of these land acquisition issues.
Yeah.
You know, you've got all these negotiations,
right.
environmental considerations, community concerns. It gets very complicated.
Yeah, it sounds like a real balancing act.
It is, trying to weigh those potential benefits against the social and environmental impacts. It's tough.
And then there's the issue.
And then there's the waste.
The waste?
The radioactive waste.
That's a big one.
It's a big one. And India still doesn't have a permanent solution for how to dispose of it.
So what are they doing with it right now?
Well, they have temporary storage solutions.
Okay.
But finding a permanent one
right.
that's essential for the long-term sustainability.
Right. We can't just...
Exactly. We can't just ignore it.
Yeah, we can't just generate the power.
Right.
And then just like leave the waste.
We have to deal with the byproducts.
We got to deal with it.
You.
Okay.
And then...
And one last thing.
Yeah.
We can't overlook the need.
Yeah.
For skilled workers.
Yeah.
You need highly trained people.
Oh, yeah.
To build and operate these sophisticated plants.
For sure. For sure.
And India needs to really ramp up their training program.
Invest in people.
Invest in those people.
Yeah.
Develop that human capital.
Yeah. So it's not just about the physical infrastructure. It's not just about the buildings.
It's also about
it's about the people.
Investing in education and training.
It's absolutely.
And creating that pipeline.
That pipeline of qualified personnel.
So we've talked about all these challenges.
We've laid out the hurdles.
Yeah. What are some potential?
So what do we do about it?
Yeah. What are the solutions?
Yeah. What are some strategies?
Yeah.
Well, one of the key strategies is to amend that Atomic Energy Act.
Okay.
To let the private sector in.
Right.
Let them participate.
Okay.
More fully.
Right. Let's get those.
Yeah. Unlock that investment.
Yeah, let's get that money flowing.
Bring in that expertise, that efficiency.
It's like a team effort.
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
Between the government and the private sector.
Overseeing it.
Yeah.
But the private sector kind of.
Yeah. Bringing that dynamism.
Yeah, the dynamism.
Okay.
Okay, I like it.
Another crucial step is to focus on developing those indigenous technologies.
Yeah.
Like fast breeder reactors and small modular reactors.
The SMRs.
The SMRs.
Yeah, I've heard about those.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
Because that reduces their dependence on foreign technology.
Right.
And it lets them tailor solutions.
Right, to their specific needs.
To their specific context.
Okay.
And those SMRs are really interesting.
They are.
They're smaller.
Yeah.
More flexible.
Yeah.
And potentially safer.
Okay.
Than those big traditional reactors.
Okay.
So they're a promising option for India.
And public-private partnerships could help with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Public-private partnerships.
To get really accelerated.
Developed and out there.
And development and deployment of these technologies.
So it's about using India's strengths.
Right.
And really fostering
that innovation.
That innovation.
Exactly.
To be self-reliant.
To be self-reliant.
In their nuclear sector.
Exactly.
Now, what about the skills gap?
The skills gap.
How do we make sure?
Yeah, how do we make sure India has enough...
That they have the people?
Qualified people.
Yeah, the expertise.
Yeah, to manage all this expansion.
Well, one way is to link the Skill India initiative.
Okay, Skill India.
Yeah, okay. Which is all about boosting vocational training.
Right.
With specialized nuclear training programs.
Okay, so kind of tailoring Skill India.
Yeah, exactly, tailoring it.
Nuclear
to the nuclear sector.
Yeah.
So you're creating this pipeline of skilled workers who can handle all the complexities of this technology.
So it's about empowering young Indians.
Yeah, giving them those skills
to
be the next generation.
Next generation.
Of nuclear experts.
Exactly.
Okay, and then of course we have to win over.
We got to win hearts and minds.
Hearts and minds.
We do.
Right.
Yeah, how do we do that?
How do we address those public concerns about safety?
Right.
And get people...
How do we build confidence?
Yeah, confident in this program.
Yeah.
Transparency is key.
Transparency.
Open communication.
Yeah.
Talking about those safety protocols.
Yeah.
Regular inspections. Right. And really highlighting the benefits
of nuclear energy.
Nuclear energy. That can go a long way.
Yeah.
In building that trust.
So it's about like, you know...
It's about demystifying it.
Yeah.
Showing people...
Yeah, showing them the facts.
That it can be safe.
Right.
And reliable.
Yeah.
And that it's a clean energy source.
Right.
That's important for their future.
So those public awareness campaigns.
Right.
Educational initiatives.
Love that.
Engaging with the local communities.
Engaging with the communities.
Is key.
It's absolutely essential.
So it's clear.
Yeah.
That this is a really complex issue.
It's multifaceted.
Multifaceted.
There are opportunities.
A lot of opportunities.
But there are definitely challenges.
Yeah. And I think that's...
And for our UPSC aspirants.
Yes.
This is a gold mine.
Yeah. I mean, information.
The decisions being made today are going to shape India's energy landscape.
For years to come.
For decades to come.
For sure.
You need to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
You need to be able to analyze those policies.
Right.
Think about those economic implications.
And the ethical considerations.
The ethical considerations, it's all there.
So to our listeners prepping for those UPSC exams, you know, this nuclear energy journey is going to be a potential gold mine of questions.
It is.
Whether it's, you know, policy analysis, economic implications, ethical considerations.
All of it.
So make sure you dive deep.
Dive deep into that material.
Especially that
article from the Hindu.
Yeah, the Hindu article.
Because we'll look in the show notes.
Yeah, link is in the show notes.
And for everyone listening, if you enjoyed this deep dive
into India's nuclear energy sector,
hit that subscribe button. Leave us a like.
Yeah, we appreciate your support.
It really helps us reach more people.
More curious minds out there.
Exactly.
So until next time. Stay curious, stay informed.
Stay engaged.
And we'll see you on the next deep dive.
See you then.